What's up, everyone? If I look tired, I'm exhausted. Just so you guys know ahead of time, making sure you guys know that I am beat today. Kid's birthday yesterday. Went to the trampoline place. I'm sure you saw the video on Twitter that that trampoline place kicked my butt. Not gonna lie. All right, we're talking duels. We're talking Can-Am duels. Daytona Thursday nights. Daytona. We have two duels on Thursday night, both 60-lap races. Interesting races because they're awarding points this season. They did not do that last year. They have not done that in the past. So what to expect this weekend is kind of up in the air as far as, aggressiveness and that kind of stuff. I'm a little worried that we're not going to be able to predict a lot. I do think that we'll see a lot less crashes this weekend than we do in a typical race. It happens every year in the duels. These are the 500 cars. These are these guys' cars. They build these cars to qualify and to race in the Daytona 500. So the last thing these guys want to do is they want to go out and wreck their Daytona 500 car. That is the last positive thing these guys want to do. That is set in stone. You ask any driver, they're going to tell you that. With that being said, they're awarding points, top 10 spots. They're setting the field for the Daytona 500. Obviously, the pole position and outside pole, Chase Elliott, Dale Jr., that's set. Brendan Gaughan, Elliott Sadler, they got in. They were two of the six fastest open cars. So with that being said, I'm actually going to pause this for 2 seconds here. Sorry about that. For you guys watching on demand, you guys watching in chat. Oh, my dad is watching my kid tomorrow, and he has to take her to t-ball practice. So he's coming by on the way back from the dirt track to pick up her t-ball stuff, and I forgot to leave it outside. But anyway, we got 25 minutes before he'll be here, so plenty of time to cover this slate. Plenty of time to talk. Back to what I was saying. Brendan Gaughan, Elliott Sadler, two of the six fastest open cars, teams that don't have charters. So there'll be two spots up for grabs. It'll be in Duel 1, Reed Sorensen and Corey LaJoie. Duel 2, it'd be DJ Kennington and Timmy Hill. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Let's talk Duel 1. Let's get into this. Definitely looking here at Duel 1. I think the first thing I want to mention here is the obvious. We have Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, 5, 6, 8. Even Martin Truex in that 3 spot. We're looking at a really good stackable spot here with the Joe Gibbs guys. Finishing position-wise, there's upside to win the race here. There's a ton of upside to finish in the top 5 with 2 or 3 of these guys. So in tournaments, I'm definitely looking at the JGR stack. That's the one thing I wanted to note out. Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Matt Kenseth, all those guys firmly in play here. I do think they're all, really solid here. They're going to be working together. This is more of a team race. This is a spot where you want to work with your teammates and you want to have those, partnerships. You don't want to wreck. So what's the best thing to do if you don't want to wreck? You put guys around you that you trust and you can work with. So Duel 1, definitely wanted to point that out. Looking at the rest of this here, Jamie McMurray in the 12th spot, one of my favorite plays here. Joey Logano in the 9th spot, probably my top play from this duel. Trevor Bayne, Paul Menard in that 10 11 spot. Eric Amarola in the 13th spot. These guys are all in really solid place differential spots. The one thing that worries me a little bit with Eric Amarola, he has a win here at Daytona, really solid at Daytona and Talladega. Looking at his past duel history, it doesn't look like they're really aggressive, so probably a little risky. But the guys that are behind him, I don't see them really pushing anything. Cole Witt, he got to ride. He's in the Daytona 500, so I don't think they're going to worry about pushing that car too much there. Brendan Gaughan, same thing. They're in. So, I have media day all day on Wednesday, and I'm going to get to talk to every single one of these drivers. And I'm going to try to get as much information about if they're planning on parking these cars or if they're going to actually run the duel. So look for that information in the By the Numbers article on Wednesday night, Thursday morning. I'll be in chat all day Thursday as well. So, look for that information. I'm going to do the best I can to get as much possible information out of these guys tomorrow at Media Day as I possibly can for the duels, because I feel like this is one of the harder slates in the entire season. Landon Castle's interesting. Don't really trust him there. Trevor Bayne's interesting at 10. I want to talk about him a little bit more. He's been really solid at these type of tracks. He's really interesting at the starting 10 spot. He's probably going to be low owned because of where he's starting. I think he's really interesting tournament play. Kevin Harvick, these guys up here in the top 4, I don't love Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's going to be a guy that I'm probably going to look to avoid in most spots because I think that Keselowski is going to make fast work of getting in front of Elliott. And if he does that, Keselowski has a good opportunity to lead a lot of laps here, and really solid tournament play. Finishing position should be really solid for Keselowski as well. With Joey Logano, probably going to move up here as well. I expect those guys, if they get hooked up, they can give Joe Gibbs a run for their money with this race awarding points to the top 10. These guys like Joey Logano, like Kyle Busch, like Matt Kenseth, like Kevin Harvick, Truex, Keselowski, these guys want points. Everybody wants points eventually, and everybody wants points, in the long run. But these guys with the money, they can afford to wreck a car. They're going to want these points. So Duel 1, really targeting these guys in the, Joe Gibbs, the 9 to 13 range. And then if I had to choose one out of Reed, Sorensen, and LaJoie, it would probably be Reed Sorensen. He has experience, a little bit more experience than LaJoie. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a bump there. But, LaJoie definitely has a little bit more sponsorship money, and starting last, can't go wrong. Own exposure to both those guys in tournaments. Don't know if you're going to necessarily need them in cash games, and I honestly don't like the cash game slate too much for Duel 1. But if you do want to play it, the rankings will be up here before I go to bed on Tuesday night. So if you're doing this, if you're watching the video Wednesday, if you're watching the video live right now, those rankings will be up before I go to bed tonight. I got a podcast to do with Siege and a little bit more work to do here for the package, but those will be up. Outside of that, really, man, like I said, Joey Logano, man, I like Joey Logano a lot. I like Jamie McMurray a lot too. Can't stress enough how good Jamie McMurray has been at Daytona in his career. A guy that's won this race or won at Daytona, a guy that, finished second in this race last year, makes some enemies on the track from time to time. But he's a guy that really knows how to plate race. So I really like Jamie McMurray, starting in that 12th spot. I think he's one of the safest plays on the entire slate. Moving on over to Duel 2. Duel 2 is interesting just because a lot of the studs, we talked Joe Gibbs, we talked about all these guys, and, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex, Keselowski, Logano. Man, Duel 1 is just stacked. Duel 2, different story. Duel 2, we're looking at, guys like Dale Earnhardt Jr., obviously, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Larson. Outside of that, we get into the Kurt Bushes, we get into the Clint Boyers, we get into the Casey Canes, the Newmans. Duel 2 is interesting, and if I had to attack one of these two duels, it's going to be Duel 2. I like Duel 2 a lot more than I like Duel 1. I think there's more opportunity in Duel 2. We got Austin Dillon starting in the 13th spot. Yeah, he's my boy. I never, consider any of that when I'm, talking fantasy. I'm going to put out the best information. The best information for me right here is Austin Dillon starting in this 13th spot. Daytona's been his best track over the last 2 years. This is a spot that I'm definitely going to attack my boy. AJ Allmendinger in the 14th spot. I like this spot for him. Kurt Busch in that 11 spot, coming off a wreck. Nobody's going to want to go back there after he just burned them. I think he's in an excellent spot here. A lot of potential to move up and get past the rookie and Eric Jones. Guys like my boy Ty Dillon. There's potential to move up for Kurt Busch, and I think there's a lot of potential for Kurt Busch to move up here. I think there's a lot of potential for Blaney and Larson to move up, and Jimmy Johnson. There's potential here. I love Ty. Ty's one of my good friends, but I think Ty is going to be a guy that I kind of stay away from. I think you want exposure to him in tournaments because he does have potential to finish in the top 10, and he avoids wrecks. He did that a lot in the Xfinity Series. But starting in that 6th spot makes him really, really, really risky. What I'm liking here, let's talk Dale Earnhardt Jr. for a minute, because Dale Earnhardt Jr., obviously the most popular driver in NASCAR. His ownership at Daytona over the last couple of years has just been through the roof. It's just insane how high it becomes. With that being said, he's starting on the pole in this race. If he lines up on the inside, he's going to have Denny Hamlin, who's the second best driver in this group. So he's going to have Denny Hamlin, the best driver, second best driver, pushing him. He's one of the best, if not the best, plate racers. He's going to want to stay out front. This awards points. They're racing for a championship. So while he is the riskiest play on the board, obviously starting in the 1 spot, riskiest play on the board, he's almost a free square in tournament or in cash games. In tournaments, there's reason and there's merit to fading him. He's going to be the most popular play. Without a doubt in my mind, he's going to be the most popular play. It's not even going to be close. But looking at it, like if he gets Hamlin pushing him, these guys could ride out these first 40 laps. The pit window's 44 to 47. It's a 60-lap race. It's at night. They're not going to need tires when they pit. Like, there's a good chance these guys just come in, take right sides, get the tank back up where they need it to be to finish the race. And we just see Denny Hamlin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. dominate this race. There's competition. Yeah. It's Jimmy Johnson. It's Ryan Blaney. It's Kyle Larson. But they're, the position that these guys are starting in, Junior and Hamlin can just be in this dominant spot. I love Clint Boyer this season. I'm going to be talking about him a bunch. I think he's really risky in this 2 spot. His price is up from what we saw last year a lot. So really, I'm looking at Junior way more than I should. If he and just know, like, he is a terrible tournament play. Could he be the highest scoring driver? Yeah, there's a really high potential of that happening, of Dale Jr. being the highest scoring driver. But he's also the most risky, and he is going to have the highest percentage. So if you're playing 1 entry in a tournament, you're going to have to make that decision. If you're playing 3, you definitely are making one of those teams without Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's my thoughts. Going down the list here, Denny Hamlin, obviously, like I said, to Junior, the second best, plate racer in this format, in this group. Really risky tournament play because he's starting 3rd, but the finishing potential, staying out of trouble, it's all there for Denny Hamlin. This is not the Clash. If Keselowski or somebody gets a run on Hamlin here, he's not going to pull down and try to stop him and make the block in a corner and take them both out. This is not the Clash. These are the Daytona 500 cars. These are not their Clash cars. So there is a difference. Yes, there is a difference in these cars compared to what we saw on Sunday afternoon. Casey Kane, I'll probably avoid. Ryan Newman, don't love it. I mentioned Ty. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Larson, Blaney, Eric Jones, Kurt Busch, Danica, Austin, AJ Allmendinger, all very firmly in play here. Getting down to these cheap guys, David Reagan, good plate racer. I think he'll save his stuff for the 500. Michael Waltrip in his last Daytona 500. I think he'll save his stuff for the 500. Elliott Sadler, really low-funded team. This team's not even running the full season this year. This may be, I think, 1 of 3 races for them this season. So with him qualifying in and into the qualifying spot, I think he'll save his stuff. And then these 3 guys at the bottom, 19, 20, 21, this is the 18, pretty much the 16 to 21 group in this duel is just so bad. It's so bad. If you're playing any of these guys for value, it's probably Michael McDowell at the 15th spot. Me personally, I'm hoping that Michael McDowell slips up somehow and we get to play him in the Daytona 500 for like the third straight time. And he's just crushing value on these plate races because he's a really good plate racer. I just don't see it happening here because these guys behind him are just so bad. If I had to play any of these guys, it's McDowell. I think all these guys are risky. Obviously, Kennington and Timmy Hill, they're racing in their Daytona 500 this weekend. This race is their Daytona 500. They have to finish in front of one another to make the Daytona 500. So this is their shot. This is their chance. This is their time to get in. So, with that being said, it's just they're both just so bad, so bad. Just Kennington hasn't been around in like 3 or 4 years. Timmy Hill has an average finish of like 36 and like 48 cup races or something along those lines. I just wrote it up. They're just not good. They're not good. They're in bad equipment. Yeah, they're risky. Usually I would say, man, those guys are just ultimate cash game plays because their floor is just so high. Timmy Hill, at the end of the day, Timmy Hill's lowest fantasy point is going to be 23. So if you're playing one of them, maybe it's Timmy Hill just because he's starting last. And Waltrip Sadler, Jeffrey Earnhardt, these guys, David Reagan might not be pushing their 500 cars. So maybe you play Timmy Hill just because he's going to move up. It's risky. It's risky. It's risky. But anyway, short show. These early week shows moving forward are going to be more focused on preparing for the race. Obviously, we won't have 3 races in a week anymore. So this is the only time that we'll actually have content in these early videos. The early videos throughout the season are going to be, prepping. What are we doing with this race? Strategy for this race. What tournaments, which games am I attacking for this race? That's what we're going to be talking early in the week in these videos moving forward. Obviously, with the duels, we wanted content for the duels. So here's your content for the duels. The By the Number article is already up. So just click on that link to get that article. Rankings will be up before I go to bed on Tuesday night. So you guys can check that out as well. And on Thursday I'll be at the track. Probably, I haven't looked at the schedule, but I have to be there probably 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll get bored in the media center, so I'll be in chat a lot. So if you guys have any questions about the slate, I'll definitely be able to answer those questions. Tomorrow's media day. It is slam-packed. I'm busy from 8 o'clock until 8 o'clock. It is one of the busiest days of the year for me. So I will not be around in chat tomorrow, unfortunately. But anyway, that's going to do it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, as always, make sure you guys head over to the chat. If you have questions, I'll answer them as fast as I possibly can. Well, good luck in your contest this weekend. And we'll see you guys for the Daytona 500 show either Friday night or Saturday.